3:41 a.m. Norfolk, Virginia, February 19, 2026. 32 federal agents moved through the parking lot of a commercial warehouse on Chesapeake Industrial Boulevard. No sirens, no lights. Radio silence across 4 channels. Inside that warehouse, a server rack the size of a filing cabinet was transmitting encrypted packets to a relay node in Istanbul. It had been doing so for 3 years, 7 months, and 14 days. 6 people built this. 6 civilian contractors with Department of Defense badge access, security clearances, and maintenance schedules that put them inside naval communication centers 5 days a week. They fixed printers, they replaced Ethernet cables, they submitted invoices for routine IT work, and every 72 hours they copied classified naval communication schematics onto encrypted drives and sent them overseas. The operation to catch them took 4 years. The Secret Service and FBI ran it jointly under the designation Operation Silent Compass. Only 3 counterintelligence agents knew its full scope at any given time. The rest of the investigative teams worked in compartments, each one seeing a piece, none seeing the whole picture until the morning of February 19. This is how a foreign espionage cell operated undetected inside U.S. naval infrastructure, and this is how 3 federal agents dismantled it. The thread that unraveled everything started with a number. Not a classified document, not a tip from an informant, a number on a spreadsheet. In October 2025, a Secret Service financial crimes analyst named Diane Kowalski was reviewing flagged wire transfers as part of a routine anti-money laundering sweep. Kowalski worked out of the Secret Service field office in Richmond, Virginia. Her unit handled financial fraud, counterfeit currency, identity theft, wire fraud schemes. Espionage was not in her portfolio. The transfer that caught her attention was $237,000, routed from an account belonging to a company called Meridian Technical Solutions, LLC, to a shell corporation registered in the UAE. Meridian Technical Solutions was a small IT services firm based in Virginia Beach. 12 employees, annual revenue around $4.8 million. It held 3 active subcontracts with the Department of Defense, all for routine IT maintenance at military facilities. The wire transfer itself wasn't unusual for a company that size. What was unusual was the receiving entity, a firm called Albaric Holdings, incorporated in Dubai 6 months earlier, with no employees, no office, no website, and a registered agent who also represented 14 other shell companies across 3 countries. Kowalski pulled Meridian's full banking history. Over 36 months, the company had sent $14.7 million to 5 separate shell corporations, 3 in Turkey, 2 in the UAE. The payments were structured in amounts between $180,000 and $340,000, spaced at irregular intervals and labeled as payments for consulting services and equipment procurement. None of those shell corporations had ever provided any documented service or product to Meridian Technical Solutions. $14.7 million from a company with $4.8 million in annual revenue. That math didn't work, and Kowalski knew it. She filed a suspicious activity report on October 14, 2025, and flagged it for interagency review. Within 72 hours, the FBI's counterintelligence division in Washington had picked it up. What Kowalski didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the FBI already had a file on Meridian Technical Solutions. It had been open since March 2022. The FBI's interest in Meridian began not with money, but with a person. Arkady Lenkov, age 44, a naturalized U.S. citizen, originally from Tbilisi, Georgia. Lenkov was the founder and CEO of Meridian Technical Solutions. He had arrived in the United States in 2009, obtained citizenship in 2015, and launched Meridian in 2017. His background was in telecommunications. He'd worked for 2 mid-sized IT firms in Northern Virginia before starting his own company. In early 2022, an FBI counterintelligence field agent in the Norfolk office received a tip from a defense counterintelligence and security agency analyst. Lenkov's company had recently won a subcontract to provide IT support at Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval base in the world. The DCISA analyst flagged that Lenkov had traveled to Turkey 4 times in 2021, each trip lasting between 5 and 8 days, with no business purpose documented in his company's travel records. 4 trips, no invoices, no meeting notes, no client names. The FBI opened a preliminary investigation. Over the next several months, they compiled a profile. Lenkov lived in Virginia Beach in a 4-bedroom house worth $620,000. He drove a 2020 Audi Q7. His company employed 12 people, 6 of whom held active Common Access cards, the badge system that grants access to Department of Defense facilities. Those 6 employees were deployed across 3 installations: Naval Station Norfolk, Joint Expeditionary Base Little Creek in Virginia Beach, and Naval Air Station Jacksonville in Florida. Their work was unglamorous: network maintenance, hardware replacements, cable runs, printer servicing, the kind of work that puts a person in server rooms, communications closets, and network operations centers without drawing attention. The FBI watched. For months, nothing happened. Lenkov went to work, his employees went to work, they submitted invoices, they attended meetings. The investigation sat in a holding pattern through most of 2023. Then, in January 2024, an FBI surveillance team observed something that changed the trajectory of the case entirely. One of Meridian's employees, Yuri Dashkov, age 38, a network technician deployed at Naval Station Norfolk, was seen meeting a man at a park-and-ride lot off Interstate 64 near Hampton, Virginia. The meeting lasted 4 minutes. Dashkov handed the man a small package. The man drove away in a rental car traced to a fictitious identity. The FBI tailed the rental car to a storage facility in Newport News. The man entered a unit, stayed for 22 minutes, and left. He drove to Norfolk International Airport and boarded a flight to New York, then connected to Istanbul. The FBI obtained a warrant for the storage unit. Inside, they found nothing except a commercial-grade document scanner, a laptop with its hard drive removed, and a box of blank USB drives. The unit had been rented under a false name, using a prepaid debit card purchased at a gas station in Chesapeake. This was not financial fraud. This was tradecraft. The case was immediately escalated. FBI Counterintelligence Division headquarters in Washington assumed direct oversight. The investigation was reclassified and assigned a dedicated task force of 9 agents across 3 field offices, Norfolk, Jacksonville, and Washington. The mandate was clear: identify every member of the network, map every communication channel, document every transfer of material, and do not let a single target know they were being watched. For the next 11 months, from February 2024 through January 2025, the FBI ran one of the most tightly controlled surveillance operations in recent counterintelligence history. Every one of Meridian's 6 DoD-deployed employees was placed under physical and electronic surveillance. Their phones were monitored under FISA court authorization. Their vehicles were tracked. Their email accounts, social media, and encrypted messaging apps were subject to real-time collection. The surveillance revealed a network that was methodical, disciplined, and deeply embedded. The 6 operatives, Lenkov, Dashkov, and 4 others identified as Sergei Volkov, Nadia Petrosyan, Dmitry Orlov, and Katerina Zhukova, operated on a strict schedule. Every 72 hours, one of them would extract data from a naval facility. The method was consistent. During a scheduled maintenance visit, the operative would connect a modified USB device to a network terminal, copy specific files, and remove the device. The entire process took less than 90 seconds. The copied files were not random. Analysis of the USB devices recovered later showed that the operatives targeted specific categories of data: communication system schematics, encryption key rotation schedules, and network topology maps for naval command and control systems. This was not bulk data theft, this was targeted collection. Someone was telling them exactly what to take. If you're following the details of this investigation, hit the like button. The operation is about to escalate. The extracted data flowed through a 3-step chain. First, the USB device was transported to a rented warehouse at 2741 Chesapeake Industrial Boulevard in Norfolk, leased under a corporate name traced to Meridian Technical Solutions. Inside the warehouse, the data was transferred to one of several encrypted hard drives. Second, the data was photographed, page by page, screen by screen, and uploaded to an encrypted cloud platform routed through VPN servers in Romania and Moldova. FBI cyber analysts later determined that the platform used end-to-end encryption with a key rotation system that changed every 48 hours. Third, a physical copy of the most sensitive documents was prepared for courier transfer. This was the dead drop observed in January 2024. A handoff to a courier who would physically carry the material out of the country via commercial flights routed through neutral transit points. The warehouse itself was a controlled environment, no windows, one entrance. Lenkov visited it every Tuesday and Thursday evening between 7:15 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. The FBI installed covert cameras in the building across the street and recorded every visit for 9 months. One detail stood out to the surveillance team. On the south wall of the warehouse, behind a rack of server equipment, Lenkov had installed a small, unmarked server. It was connected to a dedicated fiber optic line, separate from Meridian's business internet, and it was transmitting data to an IP address geolocated to a data center in Ankara, Turkey. That server had been running for 3 years, uninterrupted, transmitting an average of 4.2 gigabytes of data per week. The FBI let it run. Every packet it sent was captured, mirrored, and cataloged. The agents needed to know not just what was being sent, but who was receiving it. By the summer of 2025, the investigation had mapped the full scope of the network, but one question remained unanswered. Who was directing the operation? Lenkov was the organizer. He recruited the operatives, managed the company, and controlled the warehouse. But the precision of the data collection, the specific files targeted, the specific systems mapped, suggested external direction. Someone with knowledge of U.S. naval communication architecture was providing a collection list. The answer came from an unlikely source. In August 2025, FBI cyber analysts broke the encryption on a series of messages recovered from Lenkov's secondary phone, a burner device he used exclusively for communication with a single contact designated in the phone as K. The messages were in Russian, written in a shorthand that mixed technical terminology with coded references. Over 340 messages spanning 2 years. Each one contained a tasking, a specific request for a specific type of document from a specific system at a specific installation. K knew the internal designation codes for naval communication equipment. K knew the maintenance schedules at Norfolk and Jacksonville. K knew which server rooms had been recently upgraded and which still ran legacy systems vulnerable to the extraction method. K was not in the United States. Geolocation data from the burner phone network indicated that the messages originated from a location in Ankara, Turkey, less than 2 miles from the data center receiving the warehouse server's transmissions. The FBI shared this intelligence with the CIA's Counterintelligence Center and the NSA. The assessment was unanimous. This was a state-directed intelligence operation. The specificity of the tasking, the sophistication of the communication security, and the infrastructure in Turkey pointed to a foreign intelligence service using Meridian Technical Solutions as a collection platform inside the U.S. defense establishment. For 4 years, a foreign government had been reading the communication architecture of the United States Navy. Not from satellites, not from intercepted signals, from the inside, from the people the Navy hired to maintain its own systems. The FBI now had enough to make arrests. But the timing had to be precise. If even one operative was alerted, the network would collapse. Not into custody, but into evasion. The warehouse server would be wiped, the encrypted drives would be destroyed, the couriers would disappear, and 4 years of intelligence collection by a foreign adversary would vanish without accountability. The task force spent 3 months planning the takedown. They designated it as a simultaneous multi-site arrest operation across 2 states and 4 locations. Subscribe now. What happens next took 11 minutes and 40 seconds. In September 2025, Diane Kowalski's suspicious activity report arrived at the task force. The SAR provided the final piece, a clean, prosecutable financial trail linking Meridian's domestic accounts to the overseas shell network. The $14.7 million wasn't payment for services. It was operational funding flowing in reverse. The shell corporations were funneling money to Meridian to sustain the espionage operation, and Meridian was cycling it back through fraudulent invoices to obscure the paper trail. The Secret Service was formally brought into the operation. Their financial forensics team spent 4 months deconstructing the money flow, tracing each transaction through 7 layers of shell companies, correspondent banks, and currency exchanges. They identified $3.2 million that had been converted to cryptocurrency and moved through a mixing service to a wallet controlled by an entity in Turkey. By January 2026, the Joint Task Force had assembled a case file spanning 14,000 pages. Wiretap transcripts, surveillance photographs, financial records, decoded messages, technical analysis of the stolen documents. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia convened a grand jury in late January. Sealed indictments were issued on February 11, 2026, for all 6 operatives, charging espionage, conspiracy to commit espionage, wire fraud, money laundering, and acting as unregistered agents of a foreign government. The arrest date was set for February 19th. The plan divided the operation into 4 simultaneous strike teams. Team Alpha would hit the warehouse on Chesapeake Industrial Boulevard in Norfolk. Their primary objective, secure the server before it could be wiped and seize all encrypted hard drives. FBI cyber specialists were embedded in this team, carrying equipment designed to image the server's contents in real time during the entry. Team Bravo would arrest Lenkoff at his residence in Virginia Beach. The timing was critical. Lenkoff kept a secondary encrypted laptop at his home, and the team needed to secure it before he could activate a remote wipe protocol that the FBI had identified during their surveillance. Team Charlie would simultaneously arrest Dashkoff and Volkov at their respective residences in the Norfolk metropolitan area. Team Delta, operating 600 miles south, would arrest Petrosian, Orlov, and Zhukova at a rental property in Jacksonville, Florida, where the 3 Jacksonville-based operatives shared a residence. All 4 teams would execute at exactly 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Any deviation, any single team moving early or late, risked compromising the entire operation. February 19th, 2026, 3:12 a.m. 32 agents from the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, supported by Secret Service financial investigators, staged at 4 separate rally points across Virginia and Florida. Each team leader confirmed ready status via encrypted satellite link. 3:27 a.m. final confirmation from the task force commander at FBI headquarters in Washington. All 4 targets were confirmed at their expected locations. Lenkoff's vehicle was in his driveway. The warehouse showed active power consumption, indicating the server was running. Jacksonville confirmed all 3 targets were inside the rental property. 3:30 a.m. execute. Team Alpha breached the warehouse door using a hydraulic ramp. 8 agents entered in formation. The warehouse was dark. The server rack on the south wall was humming, its indicator lights blinking in the pattern the surveillance team had memorized over 9 months. 2 FBI cyber specialists moved directly to the server and connected a forensic imaging device. They began mirroring the server's contents before touching anything else. In the center of the warehouse, agents found a workstation with 3 monitors, a document scanner, and a stack of 11 encrypted hard drives stored in a locked cabinet. The cabinet's lock was a commercial-grade biometric model, fingerprint and 6-digit code. They photographed it, tagged it, and prepared it for transport to the FBI's forensic laboratory in Quantico. Total time inside the warehouse from breach to full control, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. The server was still transmitting when they reached it. The last packet it sent was logged at 3:31 a.m. Team Bravo reached Lenkoff's house at the same moment. The entry team positioned at the front and rear doors. At 3:30, they announced federal law enforcement and executed the warrant. Lenkoff was found in his home office on the 2nd floor, seated at his desk. His laptop was open. An FBI agent later testified that Lenkoff's hand was moving toward the keyboard when they entered the room, an apparent attempt to initiate the remote wipe protocol. The agent secured the laptop by physically closing it and disconnecting its power supply within 4 seconds of entry. Lenkoff did not resist. He was placed in handcuffs at 3:33 a.m. He said nothing. In the office, agents recovered the secondary laptop, 2 additional encrypted USB drives, and a notebook containing handwritten strings of numbers that FBI cryptanalysts later identified as one-time pad cipher keys, a method of encryption used almost exclusively by intelligence services. One-time pad, a system considered unbreakable when properly used. Lenkoff was not running a casual side operation. He was running a professional intelligence cell using methods taught in state-sponsored tradecraft programs. Team Charlie arrested Dashkoff at his apartment in Norfolk at 3:31 a.m. and Volkov at a townhouse in Chesapeake at 3:34 a.m. Both were in bed. Neither resisted. Agents recovered encrypted devices from both residences. Team Delta breached the Jacksonville rental property at 3:30 a.m. Petrosian, Orlov, and Zhukova were arrested without incident. The property yielded 4 additional encrypted hard drives and a concealed satellite communication device hidden in the attic crawl space, a device not previously identified during the investigation. That satellite device was transmitting on a frequency consistent with military-grade communication systems. Its discovery meant the Jacksonville cell had a direct, independent communication link to their handlers, separate from the Norfolk warehouse server, separate from the burner phone network, separate from the encrypted cloud platform. A backup channel. Redundancy. The hallmark of a professional intelligence operation that anticipated the possibility of compromise. By 3:42 a.m., all 6 operatives were in federal custody. 12 minutes, 4 locations, 2 states. 0 shots fired. The forensic analysis that followed took months. the 19 encrypted hard drives recovered across all 4 locations contained over 11 terabytes of data. FBI and NSA cryptanalysts worked to break the encryption, a process that, for the most heavily protected drives, required specialized computing resources at the NSA's facility in Fort Meade, Maryland. By March 2026, analysts had decrypted approximately 60% of the recovered data. What they found confirmed the worst-case assessment. The stolen material included detailed schematics for the Navy's Consolidated Afloat Networks and Enterprise Services, the primary communication system used aboard U.S. naval vessels. It included network topology maps for 3 major naval installations. It included encryption key management procedures, not the keys themselves, but the protocols governing how keys were generated, distributed, and rotated. With this information, an adversary could identify vulnerabilities in the key management process and potentially anticipate windows of reduced encryption strength. The material also included maintenance logs that revealed the locations and configurations of specific communication nodes, information that, in the hands of a hostile intelligence service, could be used to target those nodes for interception or disruption. The damage assessment is still ongoing. As of April 2026, the Department of Defense has initiated a review of communication security protocols at all installations where Meridian employees held access. Encryption key rotation schedules have been accelerated. Access controls for contractor personnel have been tightened across the entire DoD subcontractor network. The financial investigation traced the $14.7 million through its full path. Of that amount, $8.3 million was identified and frozen in accounts across Turkey, the UAE, and Cyprus. $3.2 million in cryptocurrency was traced to wallets that had been emptied and mixed beyond recovery. The remaining $3.2 million was unaccounted for, dispersed through cash withdrawals, prepaid instruments, and transactions that dead-ended at currency exchange offices in Istanbul and Dubai. $3.2 million gone. The Secret Service's financial forensics team spent 11 weeks trying to trace it. They couldn't. All 6 operatives were arraigned in the Eastern District of Virginia in late February 2026. All 6 were denied bail. The court determined that each posed a severe flight risk given the nature of the charges and the demonstrated access to foreign support infrastructure. Lankoff's attorney entered a not guilty plea. The remaining 5 operatives were assigned federal public defenders. As of April 2026, pre-trial proceedings are ongoing. The case is expected to go to trial in late 2026 or early 2027, depending on the pace of classified evidence review under the Classified Information Procedures Act. If this case changes how you think about national security, drop a comment. Who do you think K is? The identity of K, the overseas handler who directed the collection operation, remains classified. Neither the FBI nor the CIA has publicly identified the individual or the Foreign Intelligence Service behind the operation. Official statements refer only to a foreign adversary without specifying a country. The Turkish government has not commented on the case. The UAE has not responded to requests for legal cooperation regarding the frozen accounts. No extradition requests have been filed for individuals outside the United States. 3 of the 5 shell corporations used to funnel money to Meridian were dissolved within days of the arrests. They are registered agents in Turkey and the UAE filing dissolution paperwork before U.S. authorities could issue international preservation orders. The corporate records were erased, the bank accounts were closed. Whoever managed the financial infrastructure moved faster than the legal system. There is one more detail. During the forensic examination of the warehouse, FBI evidence technicians discovered a concealed compartment built into the floor beneath the server rack. Inside, a secondary server, smaller, older, running on a separate power supply. It was not connected to the internet. Its hard drive contained 740 gigabytes of data that appeared to be an archive, a backup copy of everything the network had collected over 4 years. But the archive was incomplete. File timestamps showed that someone had selectively deleted approximately 30% of the stored documents in the weeks before the arrests. The deleted files were overwritten using a military-grade data destruction protocol, unrecoverable, even with the NSA's forensic capabilities. Someone inside the network knew. Not the full picture, not the date or the method of the takedown, but someone knew the investigation was closing in. Someone sanitized the archive before the FBI could reach it. Who deleted those files and what they contained remains unknown. The FBI has not identified a 7th operative. The official count remains 6, but the deletion pattern suggests access by an individual who was not at any of the 4 locations on the night of February 19th. An individual who had physical access to the warehouse knew the concealed compartment existed and possessed the technical capability to run a Department of Defense-grade data wipe. That individual has not been found. Operation Silent Compass dismantled a foreign espionage cell that had spent 4 years inside U.S. naval infrastructure. It recovered 19 encrypted hard drives, a live transmission server, and satellite communication equipment. It froze $8.3 million in foreign accounts and identified a $14.7 million financial network spanning 3 countries. But 30% of the archive is gone. $3.2 million is unrecovered. The handler known as K has not been identified, and the person who sanitized the warehouse floor compartment walked away before anyone arrived. 6 operatives are in custody. The 7th, if there was a 7th, is not. The network is closed. The access it exploited still exists in every defense subcontract that puts a civilian badge holder inside a classified facility. There are 560,000 active DoD contractor personnel with facility access across the United States. The vetting system that cleared all 6 Meridian operatives has not been structurally changed. Operation Silent Compass ended on February 19, 2026. The vulnerability it exposed did not.